A very good evening, everyone. Right. Welcome to this talk on CAPT
A very good evening,
verbal
everyone.
ability. Now, the very first thing that I would like to start with is that CAT is just one day away now. So, you should definitely not be thinking about anything else but uh, a very clear thought process of how you are going to go and approach the exam. So that is the only thing that should be on the top of your mind. Uh, Nothing much matters. What matters is how much confident and clear you are about your approach on 29th. So the exams starts with the verbal section. So the verbal section entry becomes very, very important. So the first thing that I'll cover in my discussion today will be on how to start the paper, the psychology for it. Then we will move on to some finer aspects like speed, selection, accuracy, something which is a query that many students have. Thereafter, I'll also take up some very key fundamental points with respect to the verbal questions, which I feel that though I keep telling these things to my students, and it's also there in my book, but keeping those things in mind is something which is very, very important when it comes to attempting the section, right? So, with that overview, let's start with the very first point here. See, when you enter the verbal section, remember, try to get in slow, which means a little slower than what you would normally, the pace that you will take in your solving, which means maybe spend 10-15 seconds in reading a couple of lines of the first RC slowly and then deciding whether you're going to read it or not, right? So, if you have your verbal preparation such that you attempt every RC, good enough. Still start a little slow, but if you have your preparation where you always have that option to leave one RC, if that is how you tackle the verbal section till now, then you can actually try to first select an RC and then attempt, because well begun is half done. That is what we say, right? So on the entry part, my tip would be start a little slow. Thereafter, uh, see, now whichever RC you are reading, right? Uh, Try to fundamental things like central idea. You might not be writing down the central idea of a paragraph, but definitely you should try to keep that thought in mind in the exam, because it is the D day, the final day. So whenever I'm reading the first paragraph, I would try to read it fast, but in the first line, I'll go a little slow, trying to capture the subject and then read according to the context, right? So पहले एक दो line of every paragraph may try to get the subject of the paragraph, therein move fast, and then keeping the context in mind, run through the paragraph. Next paragraph again, try to just catch the subject first. So you run fast, but every paragraph, your objective is to capture the theme, right? That objective should remain in the final exam as well. So keep these things in mind, right? Because there is a certain risk that if you try to run fast on the exam day, particularly due to the pressure that the exam brings, there is a risk that you might not be able to capture as good as you do it at home, right? So keep that theme point in your mind. Every paragraph, there should be a difference in speed. So the first line or the second line of the paragraph, when I enter into it, till I capture the subject or the main theme, and so that I can read fast in the context, I go a little slow and then I run through. The next paragraph, again a little slow and then I run through. So keep this thing in mind. Coming to the next part, so this was about reading. In the next thing is about in terms of how much time to commit to a question. Now, this is what determines your accuracy as well. So, when you read a question, you try to eliminate a couple of options, right? That is something we understand. You try to understand the context of the question. Try to look for the kind of text which is given in the options. If it's confusing to you, you look it up in the passage, right? But then if you are stuck amongst two options, you reread the question again, right? Or you refer to the passage and try to find out that which one is more precise according to the passage. But if you're not getting the answer, don't overdo it. I mean, at times, people get stuck that since I've read the passage, I need to solve each and every question. And in doing that, they spend too much time on a particular question which they might not be able to crack, right? So if you're not getting it, so see, there are two scenarios here. First scenario, you read a question, right, and you get the answer. That is the best scenario. Second scenario, you read a question and you try to reread the question or refer back to the passage and try to get the answer, right? These are the only two scenarios where you mark the answer. Do not mark the answer just because you feel that now that you have read it, you need to mark something, right? Don't fall into that trap. You will totally spoil the accuracy. So just keep these important things in mind, right? So let me sum it up again for you. The same applies for verbal reasoning as well, right? Just because there are no options, suppose in parajumbles, and you're not able to understand the passage anyways, the paragraph formation, don't just try to make a paragraph. It kills time, right? So understand. See, why am I saying all this? Ultimately, it is all about keep your cool, read the section through, remember your concepts, right? When I say remember your concepts, remember the type of questions that you have studied till now, run through the section, right? Answer the questions which you can, leave the ones which you are confused, but that is easier said than done. So do that with confidence, but keep my words of caution with you. Number one, while reading, make sure that every time you read something, you are looking after the theme. You're looking for the theme, right? Keep that in mind. Number two, when you attempt a question, right, you try to solve it, but if you are stuck amongst two options, leave it. These things, if you keep in mind, right, confidence with caution is the key to, do well in the verbal section in CAD. All right. So that will be my one piece of advice. Uh, Apart from that, I also wanted to, the very simple things which I believe helps me a lot in CAT is clarity of question types. So I've just noted down, 11 fundamentals for you. I'll go through that. Just keep that in mind. I know you guys already understand these things, but keep these things in mind. My role is just to, brush it up in front of you today so that after a day, it's still fresh in your mind, right? So let me do that. So the first question type, questions which ask you exception or not true, right? So remember, three options you have to eliminate and one is the right answer. So be careful of that not word, not true or exception, right? You're looking at the wrong one in that question type, okay? Type two, impact based questions where you are asked if true or if false, right? Which could strengthen or weaken a particular argument, right? So if true or if false doesn't mean that you are looking for a direct query. It means that you are assuming something to be true or false and accordingly looking at the impact of that statement on the argument, right? So remember that type. Be careful of if true, if false. Third one, which of the following is true or most supported or backed by the passage or the author, right? These are direct query based questions. There are lots of questions which are of this category, easy to crack. Remember to eliminate the not mentioned or contradictory ones, and the right ones look according to the question and get to the answer. That is the third type. Fourth type, inference or conclusion based. Inference or conclusion based questions, remember, these are not right facts, right? You are actually looking for what can be concluded or derived based on what is given in the passage, right? So these are indirect questions. Keep that in mind, right? Okay. Number five, assumption based questions. Assumption is something that is taken for granted. Not, it is not something that you can take for granted. It is something that the author, the writer, has taken for granted in the passage. Remember that. So there will be a basis. There will be some kind of a gap, right, where you can understand that okay, this is what the author has taken for granted, and hence the conclusion based on any given observation, right? So it's the assumption that is made by the author. Keep this in mind. Number six, purpose based or objective based or motive based questions. Purpose-based questions are those in which you try to, find out why has the author done that. So usually such answers are a couple of lines above or below or the starting or the end of a paragraph where the text has been mentioned. So look for the purpose. Why has the author said this? Remember, it's different from what, right? In such questions, quite often the focus is on, trying to find out why. Let's say there's an experiment. So why has the author done that experiment? So the answer usually lies in the beginning or the end of the passage, right? So that is one. Number seven, it's slightly different, theme based or central idea or title based. In such questions, or summary based. In such questions, you are looking at the one which captures the flow best, right? So sum of main points basically. What plus what plus what is given? The sum of these things. That is number seven, theme based questions. Right. Number eight. So the number eight is just a slight bifurcation. The summary or the essence of text-based questions. So this comes as a topic in verbal reasoning, right? So here again, it is sum of main points of what is given in the passage. All right. Number 9 is para completion. That is slightly different. You might get a question on para completion as well. In para completion, you are looking at continuing the paragraph in terms of scale, scope, and tone. Remember, conclusion is therefore what? Output, right? Summary is sum of main points. All right. And conclusion is, completion is continuity, taking the paragraph forward. All right. So that is how you think. Okay. Okay. Number 10. So number 10 is odd one out. Now, odd one out is interesting. It's like, you have, suppose you have 4 sentences and the author says that 3 out of these form a paragraph. Which one is the odd one out? So basically what I suggest here, keep in mind there will be a core and there will be a subcore. So the core is something which links all the 4 sentences. Subcore is something which links 3 out of those 4 sentences. Think like this, all right? The moment you do that, you will be able to identify the fourth one out. So there's a core, the main theme of all 4 connected, and there's a subcore, 3 of them connected by a sub theme, right? Or alternatively, some people try to do what they do is, which you can try as well, try to form a paragraph and one gets left out, right? The parajumble way of odd one out. So that is also an option, right? Okay. And the 11th one, obviously, the last one, parajumbles. Parajumbles is essentially, because what I'm doing right now, understand, I'm just giving you one-liners, what to keep in mind right at the top of your mind, so that you remain confident, still you have a very much clarity on context, right? Parajumbles means a sequencing exercise. You're trying to arrange sentences to form. It's a sentence arrangement or rearrangement exercise, right? So it's a sequencing exercise. Look for order, look for connection. Order means which first, which next. Connection means which together. So that is how you will be able to form link and you'll be able to move from top down in a paragraph or maybe bottom up in a paragraph because there will be no options. Generally, top down is the approach that we look for. So let's say we find out that okay, A, B come together, then comes C, D. So A, B, C, D. That's how keeping the order and the connection in mind, looking for it is what you must be focusing on. So I just wanted to do this small brush up with you because एक दिन है ये इसको एक बार रिवाइज कर लो अगर तुम्हें लगा कि ये सारी बातें माइंड में फ्रेश रहेंगी तो इट विल बी गुड फॉर मी डू अ स्मॉल रिकैप यही सारे क्वेश्चंस आपको दिखने वाले हैं एग्जाम्स में मोस्टली so if you keep all these things in mind and maybe revise it once tomorrow if you find this beneficial you can go into the exam confidently with caution and context, right? So that was my objective. Now coming to the strategy part of the paper. See, verbal ability is a section where attempts are more, but accuracy is the kind of determining factor. So, till now, I am sure you must have some idea about at what speed you perform the best, right? So, keep your mock or practice fundamentals in place. Don't try to overdo anything. Don't keep a number of questions thing in mind because the level is something which we cannot totally be sure of. But yes, one thing I always tell my students is that look for at least one difficult uh, RC, which might be reading wise difficult. Some people say it's like, language is abstract or topics related to old school reading. So if the language is too abstract or difficult for you, then maybe if you have a choice, don't start with it, right? So look for one difficult RC. Usually they are not two difficult RCs. Usually in CAP, there will be one difficult RC, one moderate RC, and maybe a couple of easy doers, right? So do not panic if you find a difficult RC. Take it for granted that there will be maybe one difficult RC. So you won't feel a shock wave in your mind. And that is something you can always afford to, attempt that RC in the end or leave it maybe, whatever the situation is. So my point being, keep in mind that there might be one difficult RC, there might be one difficult para summary, there might be one difficult para jumbles, one question difficult here and there, but the whole section is never difficult, right? If you carry that kind of a confidence, when you encounter a difficult RC or you encounter a difficult para jumble, you don't panic. You know that okay, इसको try कर लेने का है, बना तो ठीक नहीं तो चलो दूसरा वाला जो है ना वो आगे easy आएगा. So you look for the easy ones always, है ना? Strategy wise, that is something if you keep in mind, you will always be in a far better and confident situation in the exam. All right. So those were the key things from my side. Let me just a moment see if there are any questions that you would specifically want me to answer. be in a far better and confident. All right, so I'll do a basic summary here. Remember, guys, CAT is an exam which can easily be cracked if it's your day. Okay? Be confident, enter with confidence, try to go as fast as you have practiced, right? But with a bit of caution, do not guess. Remember the theme thing, fast, do fast theme detection every time you read, right? Even in VR, all throughout. And try to eliminate fast. Theme detection while reading, elimination while tackling the questions. Keep the question context. Okay, ऐसा question ऐसा करेंगे, ऐसा question ऐसा करेंगे. This thing clear in your mind, all right? And eventually run through the section. Be confident, feel confident. If you find an RC or a particular VR question is difficult, उसका load नहीं लेने का. Remember, there will be other questions that you can solve with ease. है ना? So that would be my final words of confidence for you and strategy in terms of the verbal section. Overall, apart from the VA section, then you move into DILR. Their set selection is important. Then you go for the quantitative section, where again question by question selection is very very important, right? And the less time you waste in the quantitative section in terms of committing to questions which you should not be the difficult ones, the better, the more time you get to solve the other questions, right? So these strategy inputs are very very important. Tomorrow being the last day, you should just maybe read just scan and read a couple of tests or mocks that you have given, and also read two to four some good articles on philosophy, psychology, economics. Read some articles and keep yourself in a very 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 positive frame of mind. Try to do this reading at the time when you have the exam day after tomorrow, right? Remember, the more confident you are, the better the exam goes for you, right? So tomorrow again, Kamlesh sir and I will have a chit chat on the exam day, right?